Welcome back. You got Will and Iman here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, Rovi, and Mscribe, and today we got another Ordinals Takeover update.
A big one, dude.
Yeah, so looks like Casey Rodarmor cracked the #1 most influential crypto person in 2023 from CoinDesk.
What other possible candidates could have taken the throne from Casey that you could think of? Considering, I guess, in context of our channel, this makes a lot of sense. Considering we spent the whole freaking year,
yeah, we did,
covering Ordinals and Casey and everything that's been developing.
Yeah, not only that, when we didn't talk about Ordinals, we were talking about inscriptions on other chains, such as inscriptions.
Correct. Only briefly, though, to be honest. But we're just making mentions of it. We're pointing out that this virus is clearly spreading, permeating to all other chains, ecosystems, as we predicted it would, right? That was one of the first predictions we made. It's like, dude, considering you can apply this digital artifact, I guess, principle to Bitcoin's blockchain, why wouldn't this become some ubiquitous part of crypto in the future? Which
not only
seems
that,
to be heading in that direction, you know?
You weren't all that interested in Bitcoin.
Not at all.
Until Casey came.
That's a good point. That is probably the biggest mind shifts that Casey's responsible for. Yeah,
and an indicator of the wider population probably being as interested in Bitcoin as you kind of are interested, just because of that transition.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential in that. It's I think people are, I'm talking about normal people, right? People who haven't been watching the Block Runner channel,
normal people,
during the heat of the thick of a bear market, right? The people out there actually
non-nerds,
whatever you want to call yourselves, the non-Block Runners, the block bandwagoners, the block bandwagoners is what we're gonna call them in the future, because they're coming at some point, right? But those people, they see the value of Bitcoin just because this digital number only go up. It seems over the last 10 to 15 years.
It only goes up.
Right. And so that's interesting, right? But now but they don't really know why number go up or what this thing even is.
Right.
They just know there's this cool digital money thing. But now they're going to, this coming up cycle, they're going to have something to play with, right?
Yeah.
Some new collectibles to start experimenting with and such. I remember, and considering a lot of people probably missed out on the last NFT wave.
Yeah, that's true.
Now they're going to have another opportunity, shot.
Not only that, the last NFT wave could potentially be a pixel compared to what Bitcoin could do.
That's a good point. It really is. Remember we were talking about how much money NFTs generated, 60 billion, whatever.
Yeah.
You look at the market cap of the NFT space, it's roughly, what, a few billion?
A few billion, yeah.
I mean, that's a blip in context to the whole crypto market.
Yeah.
We're talking a multi-trillion-dollar ecosystem here.
Yeah, yeah.
And NFTs have so far have only registered a blip on that radar. So
yeah,
maybe our original thesis of we're not going to see the Web3 space get away with just distributing JPEGs all over again. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe
it could be wrong.
Maybe that market hasn't truly reached its
everybody. But it's hard to believe because Paris Hilton and Snoop Dogg, I mean Eminem, everybody was into NFTs.
Well, probably maybe that's just it's a long-standing product for humanity from here on out. Kind of
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, toys. Toys were cool. Toys didn't come and go.
True.
Right? They came and they stayed and they only got better, and the market only grew into a multi-billion-dollar industry, and video games and everything else.
Yeah.
So it's an industry that has come and I think will persist. And now it's living on Bitcoin, literally.
I mean, it makes sense. We're talking about digital ownership here, right? In the form of images and text, right? Our favorite is text.
We do like the text. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Game assets.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of our time is spent digitally. It makes sense that we get to own stuff officially digitally, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, man, it is quite crazy to see, considering we got to witness this pretty much from the beginning.
Yeah.
Pre-Yuga Labs Skittles drops.
That's right.
We were like, dude, this Ordinals thing is just fucking cool. We just liked it just because somebody had the clever idea of sequentially ordering Satoshis. And like, dude, this is, I remember, dude.
It's novel. It's interesting.
Yeah, we just found value in it just off at a conceptual level. Like, dude, this is a brilliant attempt, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have the evidence to support it was actually going to work. And the infrastructure was literally absent during that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, look how far it's come, dude. It's the end of the year. I guess it's time to reflect. We spent a whole fucking year.
I can't believe it, dude.
We spent a whole year on Ordinals, dude. Think about that.
That was the fastest year.
That was a really fast year.
I mean, it was February when we first talked about it.
I know. It's December. It's over, dude.
Damn.
Year one's almost in the books. A lot has happened. So I guess, yeah, we're going to have to make some of those, like...
You know, this bear cycle wasn't that bad when you really kind of look back. I mean, it was extremely bad when you really think about it. FTX.
Well, it was bad for everybody else. Again, that's what we said.
Yeah.
Like, if you weren't paying attention to this, like, you were, like, suffering.
Yeah.
You didn't see, like, the light at the end of the tunnel. You were like, dude, how is crypto ever going to, like, come back? But considering we've been paying attention, like, yeah, it doesn't feel like we've been in a bear market at all.
Yeah, but remember, I mean, even TJ called us out. He was like, you guys are too much doom.
Well, that was before we found Ordinals.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there was no light at the end of the tunnel.
I know.
Until Ordinals.
Imagine if we didn't find Ordinals. It would have been another year of that, dude.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap. That would have been... I may have offed myself, dude.
Yeah, it was like every other video we had an SEC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking suicide watch alert.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, be careful out there.
Yeah. All right, so what else we got here? So congratulations, Casey. We got Benny. All right, so this one's pretty big, right? If Benny's concerned, we should all be concerned, right?
Right. So it's like, not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, correct.
Land. There's potential, what do you call them? Black swans on the horizon, I guess. I don't know if this is technically a black swan.
No, this one's not. This is more like a technical barrier that we need to clean up.
All right, so what's going on here, dude? Explain it to us.
All right, so let me just read this tweet thread, and I'll give you some context. So, is there awareness that endlessly indexing ordinals causes increasing computation complexity and storage demands for the Ord wallet itself, as well as third-party indexing? He asks. The address below is one of many having UTXOs assigned that hold thousands, in this case hundreds of thousands, or almost 100,000, of inscriptions that users tend to burn for postage. So each time those UTXOs move, all ordinals within are being re-indexed. Does this really have to be, since the intent of people has literally been to burn these to release sats in their postages? Since I'm watching this, the more I believe simple benchmarking and efficiency patches won't be enough to address this moving forward. I did not plot a chart yet to picture the complexity, but I believe we left linear complexity already. Any ideas, suggestions, and opinions of the above? And then Casey comes in a few days ago, and he says, why don't you make an issue on GitHub to discuss? I've been thinking about this, but nothing concrete, and it's probably good to have a place to discuss it. The first step is probably to benchmark to see how much of a problem it is. And Benny agrees, we'll do. So there's going to be a public dialogue on this, and so what happens is if you go and search this address, it has 100,000 inscriptions. And if you understand how UTXOs work, when you spend Bitcoin, you are sending the entire UTXO, and most of it is coming back as change.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, the indexers have to go and like log where all these UTXOs, and in this case, ordinals, are being held. Right?
Yeah.
And it becomes a nightmare. And it's such a nightmare that if you go look this wallet up, you can crash websites already, right? So I was able to crash Ordinals wallet, and I think ordinals.com just by searching this
wow, really?
address.
Jesus.
It's either this one or another one that Benny gave me, so it's one or the other.
So what's your predictions, like, as far as like likely outcomes to resolving this? Because you know how things are. Like whenever you have like an engine already in motion, it's really hard to kind of like correct things.
So I think this one is relatively simple from like a technical solution. What's hard about this particular solution is that we need a consensus. So basically, Casey has to agree as like, yeah, this is the best solution, blah, blah, blah. But essentially, you blacklist these addresses.
Okay.
Like for the context of what this address is, I think it's an exchange. They really don't care about ordinals, and they don't care about managing them. It's just your sats happen to have inscriptions on them, but they don't care because to them, ordinals is invisible.
Yeah.
Right? It's just Bitcoin.
Right.
And so they're going on with their business, and it is affecting, this market called Ordinals.
Okay.
And so if you just blacklist it, you just don't track it, right? Then it just essentially doesn't exist.
Okay.
But this needs to be like a global blacklist, meaning from the Ordinals wallet, they need to recognize that, hey, we're not tracking anything from this wallet anymore because it's an exchange, and that's it.
Yeah, more and more, I guess, evidence that, dude, this whole indexing thing is just snowballing into one hell of a behemoth of an industry, of a consideration. It supports everything that's being done in this ordinal space.
Right.
And right now Benny and Track it almost feels like a one-man show. Like there needs to be a much more concentrated effort among like this Ordinals ecosystem to kind of like, I don't know, band together and make this like a more persistent, like open public conversation, like all these different types of concerns. I guess right now the only medium to really do that is like Ordinals GitHub, right?
Yeah, and you know what inspired this tweet? I was talking to Benny, is like, hey, some of the bitmaps on Mscribe are not showing owners. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And so he goes and checks, like he couldn't figure out what the problem was. And so I went on Mscribe and I just clicked through, like starting at the end, like the latest block, and I went backwards, and I went a few thousand blocks back, and I found the point where it was being tracked and the point where it wasn't. And that point, the dividing line, involved this address.
Wow. Okay.
Somehow.
Yeah.
And so maybe somebody had sent a bitmap to this address, effectively burning it accidentally, or it was an accident transaction, whatever. But for some reason, we couldn't show the latest owner because of like this issue, right? So this issue propagates.
Yeah.
The unintended consequence with this particular solution, and I'm not saying this is the one, is that now if you can blacklist an address, which addresses can you blacklist now?
Yeah.
Right. So now you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Correct.
Right.
All right,
So
well, that's something that we're gonna have to keep our eyes on for a variety of reasons, right? Because I mean, we're obviously builders in this space, so we need to know how to navigate these potential choppy waters on the horizon. But I mean, this is a technical problem, so of course there is a technical solution to this. But even though there might be some social consensus requirements and such, I mean, these are all like stress tests for the ecosystem. Like we've already just talked about, Ordinals is basically like 1 year old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a baby in the context of everything. That
this whole year has a beta test. Has been
correct.
A beta test.
Yeah, the official 1.0 isn't even out yet. So.
Correct.
This is all part of it, dude. This is part of the overall experiment that is Ordinals, right?
Yeah. All right. So
this is pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. So Cubs. So I think this is the guy who's been talking about NATs a lot, right? I think. So the impending BRC20 crisis is a ticking time bomb. Seems like someone has been dumping garbage BRC20s into big bags. So basically identifying the same problem. Also check Track Discord server if you want to learn more. Based on recent discussions and observation with the community, always cross-check and do your research. Okay, so people are talking about the problem. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. All right, moving on. Magic Eden. We'd like to congratulate Ordi Bots team on such a strong demand on their mint today, but also acknowledge users disappointed in our Launchpad experience. There were instances of mempool sniping noted on a portion of user mint attempts. So what does that mean for next? Explained well by Danny Yang. We're officially starting to see sniping on the Ordinal trades. Most Ordinal marketplaces use PSBTs. Yeah, so this is a PSBT sniping problem.
So we got another potential technical problem that needs to be addressed, right? Or is this just like something that the ecosystem's gonna kind of have to
So here's the thing: if your project is being sniped, someone deems it valuable, right, to front run people, right. So not every project is going to get sniped. So there's that.
Well, correct, but let's extrapolate into the heat of a bull market, where every project is like last NFT Mania, where every 10K project basically sold out. You know.
Oh yeah, this is for sure a problem. For if you're hyping up your launch, you're gonna get sniped. Yeah. Right. Because
this was definitely one of the more hyped launches I've seen in a while. Ordi Bots. It was like a great little 3D collection. Yeah. Pretty cool dudes. These are probably going to be usable at some point in the metaverse space. I'm pretty sure you'll see these deployed in bitmaps. in the future, right? So great marketing campaign, great art, whatever you want to call it. It was successful, but again, another technical underlining, I guess, consideration now for all creators in this space. This is just kind of maybe something we're all going to have to adapt to, right? Get used to. Unless there's a technical solution for this as well. And it's probably going to be like at the platform level, right?
It is, but there's more issues than just sniping, I think, because we have to deal with miners, right? The miners can do the sniping themselves, and not only that, they snipe you. They ignore all your inscriptions and transactions, and they put theirs in the block instead of yours for $1 fee. Right. This is called selfish mining. Now they still have to achieve getting their block mined, right? They have to achieve that, so it's like random. But nonetheless, they can engage in like selfish mining, and then just completely that $100 inscription fee that you're paying. Well, I can just ignore that, put my transaction in for $1.
Wow.
And then ultimately you didn't spend any money, so that's kind of good. But yeah, so there's tons of issues kind of embedded with like sniping, right? So sniping isn't the only one, but it is a PSBT situation. If you don't know what a PSBT is, a partially signed Bitcoin transaction, look it up. It's pretty interesting. But yeah. All right, moving on. Ordi, dude, $48.
It just keeps on going up, dude. So if you guys remember, rewind back to like March-ish time frame, whenever we first kind of like really went deep into this space, was because of BRC20s, right?
Yeah, correct.
That was the first time. And with the overall market cap of the whole BRC20 market was like hovering around $20 million. We have a single BRC20 token here, dude, that just cracked $1 billion. One token.
That's impressive.
It's pretty crazy. In less than 1 year's time, like about 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
Like, I remember we were like freaking out, like the whole BRC20 space cracked $1 billion for like a couple hours, then it quickly just dumped right back again. So this is a big deal, like that you have a BRC20 like native token, not like top 50, you know, actually number 61. So it's creeping up there.
Yeah. So $48. Yeah, this is interesting. So first BRC20 cracks $1 billion. This is definitely going to make headline news across all of crypto.
So. Yeah, I totally agree. We were already seeing, like, again, the virus spreading. Inscriptions are everywhere. Like, BRC20 variants are starting to kind of, like, show up everywhere, even though, like, fungible tokens have been pretty much issued on every other chain. It's like, but this version of issuing fungibility is new, right?
Yeah.
So this ecosystem is, I guess, spreading its value elsewhere. And yeah, Ordi started it all. So shout out, I guess, congrats, Domo also, even though he's not officially recognized as
influential.
Was he on that list?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, maybe in the future he will be. But yeah, dude, very insane to see everything that's kind of like come to fruition in this space.
So what's the X on this since we last talked about it?
I mean, we're getting close to 100X here. Whenever we first discovered Ordi.
So. That's right. Yeah, you're right.
So congrats to anybody for that's significant entertainment value, dude.
That's a lot of
that's a lot of entertainment, dude.
All right. Leonidas breaking. The new Bitcoin mining startup Ocean Mining, which is backed by Jack Dorsey, is suspected of censoring ordinal transactions. The irony is that the founder, Luke, claims that the company's mission is to make Bitcoin censorship resistant. And so Udi comes in and is like, what? Where's the evidence? It's like, we don't really know anything for sure, but people suspect it's because it's using Luke's NOTs software. And if you look at these images, this guy says, if you have hash rate and believe that inscriptions don't belong in the blockchain, you can now point it to Ocean Mining. We should start seeing fresh, new, clean blocks soon.
Okay, so fast forward to recent times. Again, I think their first block, another tweet by Leonidas. Next tweet.
Oh, the next tweet?
Next tweet, dude. The next tab.
Oh, yeah. So breaking, Ocean Mining just mined a JPEG, a BRC20, and a bitmap, all on Uncommon Sat.
There you go. So that put a quick end to that FUD right there. Yeah, they're not censoring a goddamn thing. Why would you?
No, if you're a miner, it makes no sense to censor this stuff. No sense.
Yeah, miners are the most probably likely supporters of everything that's happening because they have the most to gain. From seeing like an actual true ecosystem emerging from Bitcoin, a real ecosystem, not just a narrative. To be honest, I mean, I get it. Yeah, that was like Satoshi's original narrative, like, you know, peer-to-peer cash and such, but there's just so much more value being created here, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, 100%. CB Spears comes in, Ocean Mining mines a bitmap. So there it is. No censorship at all.
Well, dude, we saw that one coming, didn't we? Or
yeah.
We knew once, like, I guess you stop, like, future blocks from being mintable or claimable, is not recognized. We knew, like, at some point the miners were just going to, like, basically dominate the market, right, of new block entries into bitmap ecosystem.
Yeah.
Sound like you don't feel very comfy with that.
I mean, it's just the miners really can control pretty much everything here, and I don't think there's much anybody can do about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to change the Bitcoin protocol level to kind of mitigate that, but even then, it'd be tough.
Well, bullish news for bitmap, dude. I don't think there's anything more bullish than miners.
Yeah,
like
scooping up
bitmaps as soon as they appear, right? Because I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, each bitmap right now is basically $100.
Basically $100, yeah.
Yeah.
Bitmaps are at all-time highs, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, everything is just flourishing. It's incredible.
Yeah. Speaking of flourishing, Elon Moist comes in with a tweet. He says, praying for all those who lost money inscribing Ordi on Trigamma. Seems like they custodied the inscriptions but minted them to address it they didn't have the keys to. Or I'm sure there's speculation here, but the point is a lot of people use Trigamma to mint the first Ordi token.
Yeah.
And
which is now worth $1 billion market cap. Yeah.
And the way that they set up their technology, it kind of inscribed it to themselves and then forwarded it. And so when they forwarded the inscription, that inscription was worthless because once you inscribe it and the address that first receives that inscription is the one that holds the actual underlying asset.
Wow.
So, and they have no plans on issuing those tokens.
Yeah. I mean,
for all kinds of reasons, including legal.
Yeah. If you're around back in those times, you witnessed just how primitive everything was. Like the infrastructure just was not there. Yeah. Everything was just in such an experimental stage.
Yeah. You basically ran your own Bitcoin core and you did the inscriptions yourselves, or you kind of gamble with these inscription sites, which
these services,
they weren't set up exactly for BRC20s.
Correct. Yeah, they're mostly like set up for
art.
Yeah, and then they're quickly trying to like adjust to this new thing that people wanted. These new
JSON.
Tokens. Yeah,
people want JSON things like
who would have thunk?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
But they tried, and now looking back, it's like they might not have architected it correctly.
Right.
Which is like an unintended consequence of like I guess developing in a space that moves at this speed. Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Speaking of unintended consequences, Bitcoin fees going up. What's the likely value that could benefit from such an event? Stacks.
Yeah, this is something we covered a long time ago as like a likely candidate to kind of like scoop up and siphon a lot of this value that's being generated from Ordinals. But so Ordinals is clearly a success story. It's a powerhouse at this point.
Yeah.
It's a staple. It's here to stay and grow and attract more and more eyeballs too, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, these problems, these unintended consequences you're talking about, they're going to get worse.
Yeah.
Exacerbated, right? So there's really only like a couple of viable alternatives like in position to really, I guess, become like addressable solutions to this problem, right?
Yeah, Stacks is Lightning.
Yeah.
And that's
pretty much
that's about it.
That's pretty much it. Maybe ICP or something. I don't know.
Yeah, internet computer.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking a lot more about Stacks here, I think, coming up soon, because for one, the price action's finally picking up. I think the market's starting to understand.
36% of the day, dude.
Yeah. I think the market's they know what's coming.
Yeah.
Right. And then we got some big major releases coming out soon with SBTC and Nakamoto release and such. So there's a lot happening, dude. There's a lot happening.
Yeah. All right. That's it for us, guys. If we miss anything, let us know in the comment section below. Follow us on all our Twitter accounts. I appreciate you, and we will catch you in the next video.
Peace.